Every person's life is divided into two distinct periods. The first, where you are just a meandering wisp of undifferentiated nothingness, and the second being when you finally wake up and realize the purpose of your life. What separates the first part of your life and ushers you into the second is a rite of passage. That rite of passage is Twisted Metal 2. More specifically, when you accept that it is the greatest assembly of code and design ever devised, and your life should from then on be devoted to spreading its good word so that others may share in your enlightenment. You might assume that the rite of passage is a simple one, something you can just knock out in a weekend or so, right? Wrong. It takes years of rigorous study and research to understand even the basic concepts and principles of Twisted Metal 2. It may be the key to a more meaningful existence, to happiness, and to unlocking the truth of the universe. But it's not a one-night stand, no matter how many gallons of Riz you throw at it. You have to earn Twisted Metal 2's love. But once you do, your life will never be the same. You'll be blessed with fortunes beyond your wildest imagination. You'll be blessed with getting to mingle with the infinite expanse of transcendent perfection. So that's my goal with this video, to finally learn to like Twisted Metal 2 and accept it into my heart. It's a long road, one that I will embark on as a wee lad, but once traveled, I will emerge as a man. May Twisted Metal 2 have mercy on us all. While the credits for Twisted Metal 2 are clear that humans were behind its creation, I remain skeptical. Much like the Pyramids of Giza or the film Bad Boys 2, there is simply no way that mere mortals acted alone when putting this masterpiece together. And for those of you who have somehow not heard of this gift to humanity, Twisted Metal 2 is a game that released in 1996 for the PlayStation 1, and it sees a roster of weird and wacky characters being tossed into arenas all over the planet to fight using their vehicles of choice. The last driver remaining is granted a wish that has no limit to size, value, or even reality. All of it organized by the enigmatic and mysterious Calypso. Think of it kind of like a Mr. Beast video if it was produced by HBO. Or really, you should think of it like if software could be crafted by God himself. In all seriousness, Twisted Metal 2 is a game that I have had a tricky relationship with. It's often considered by many to be the greatest car combat game to ever exist, and with good reason, or so the many say. The folks pushing the gospel of Twisted 2 cite it being a perfect concoction of speed, strategy, and skill all wrapped up in a neat, edgy package. Everything from the roster, the level list, the physics, the weapon variety, the controls, the cinematics, and stories are spoken of as if they are without flaw and impossible to criticize. My problem here is that I suffer from a rare condition called skill issue, and perhaps that extends beyond my use of a PlayStation controller because I just don't see what other people see in this game. And holy shit have I tried. Twisted Metal remains a brick wall that my head has been unable to penetrate, no matter how many times I bash against it. The controls have been clunky, the physics have been like spiteful moon gravity, and the enemies have been relentless in their effort to make me want to launch my gamepad into the sun. Everything that exists around the gameplay itself is something that I adore with this game. The characters are quirky, colorful, and fun. Their stories are at worst just weird and wacky, like Twister, and at best they're positively powerful, like with Axel. The arenas are well designed and interesting, as they span the globe with locations like Paris in the area around the Eiffel Tower, Antarctica as the glacial ice shelf is collapsing into the sea, and Hong Kong where you navigate the grid-like streets with very little room for error. Even the variety of vehicles on tap are a huge boon for this game. There is everything from your standard garden variety sports cars like Spectre to massive rigs rumbling about, crushing everything in their path like Mr. Slam's front loader, to small rides that use speed and maneuverability to their advantage like Mr. Grimm's Hog. Hell, there's even a dude trapped between monster truck wheels wearing nothing but a pair of jeans that leave nothing to the imagination. Everything about this game is golden on paper. In practice, it's one of the most frustrating gaming experiences that I can think of, but I'm willing to dive back in and give it one more chance. So here we go. My champion for this journey will be Warthog, because if there's one thing that I am, it's completely done with this bullshit. Warthog has an enormous amount of armor and a special weapon that is effectively foolproof. If you somehow manage to miss using the Patriot missiles, that would probably be the least of your worries because clearly you're having a catastrophic medical episode. Warthog is also extremely willing and capable of dealing ram damage, which is the most important tool in the Twisted Metal 2 arsenal. As the late great Winston Churchill said, if you aren't ramming, you aren't jamming. Warthog seems to be the best character for those afflicted with the terrible effects of skill issue. because of how forgiving he is. The only downside of Warthog is their sluggish handling and inability to flee shaky situations, but if you stay on the aggression and just keep throwing yourself at enemies, it'll be them who feels the need to run away pissing down their leg. I'm obviously no such player, but potential is certainly there. I've learned in my other attempts playing this game that the AI opponents are cheap and unfair most of the time, but they are cheap and unfair in unique ways depending on who it is, which at least adds a bit of complexity and strategy to the experience, because if you know the tendencies of your enemy, you can start to formulate a plan to overcome their cheapness. Learning to like Twisted Metal 2 means learning to embrace the suck and understand the nuances of the game and use them to your advantage. That's when the game is at its best, when you know exactly what series of actions will fuck slap your opponent into oblivion, and having the controller skills to execute that plan. Warthog makes that easy because most of the time, the plan is just to repeatedly bump into other cars until one of us explodes. But that doesn't work against everyone. There are a handful of enemies who will punish you for getting close. Outlaw has their taser that stuns you and bounces your car into the air. Mr. Slam is more than happy to hand out freeze missiles like it's Halloween candy and pick you up with his grabby mouth claws. Twister has this knee-jerk reaction to pick you up with your special anytime you get close, but what makes this game special is that it's possible to negate all of that. So that's what I think the fun of this game is. It's like navigating a series of explosive chess matches. In theory. In practice, it was actually exactly that on the first level. Despite my feelings about this game up to this point, this level has never been part of my disdain. It's a classic layout and style that offers a fantastic opening arena to ease players into the rest of the game. It's wide open, allowing you to quickly escape whenever the going gets fucky. There's a health pickup around every corner, so making mistakes in battle is not as unforgiving as other matches. The looping freeway that lays like a lasso around the entire map is a perfect place to get caught up in a high-speed chase, and give my Patriot missiles an easy day at the office. I torched everyone in sight without losing a single life. It turns out that making this game a glorified bumper car scenario worked out about as well as it possibly could, except that one time that roadkill phased out of existence rather than endure my constant tiny collisions. Mix in some Patriot missiles and machine guns, and all were rendered smoldering wrecks at the feet of Warthog. My confidence was at an all-time high. I could take on the world and everyone in it because I'm just that fucking good. Warthog rules and everyone else drools. Suck it, Spectre, you coward. However, that confidence was immediately shattered upon entering the next level. This second level is the polar opposite of Los Angeles in every conceivable way. It's small, consisting of about 5 square feet of space to battle in. It's also extremely lacking in useful pickups, with only a single health spawning in at the beginning, and only a slight chance that another one will pop in at the center. Weapons are at a premium, at least for the player, because the enemies have unlimited ammo for every weapon constantly. The open floor concept of the first level made avoiding enemies an easy task, but here it's nearly impossible to escape the pull of Twister's special, and my first death of the run came because I was helplessly flapping around in the tornado, where my only course of action is just to sit there and think about what I've done. This level would have to be completed through sheer brute force, where I exhaust all of my lives in order to finish the fight. The bumper car strategy works, but it's a war of attrition, and it's not always glamorous. Suck it, Spectre, you coward. And I didn't even pretend that I could take on Paris with only one life, so I ended the mission right away and inputted the level code to jump back in full up on lives, where I learned within moments of spawning exactly why you should never attempt a jousting match with Mr. Slam. Learning my lesson, I picked on someone my own size by sumo bouncing Thumper off of the Eiffel Tower as an assertion of my dominance. This turned into another slugfest and required all 3 of my lives to beat. Paris is a standout map of this game that cannot be denied. The urban layout is always fun to rip down the streets, blasting everything around, but with the added Eiffel Tower area, it offers a good variety of sections to battle within. Plus there's the added dynamic element where you can access the rooftops after blowing up the Eiffel Tower, or you can just turbo from this spot like I did. Warthog has never felt so free. Well done. So far so good in this run. I'm actually enjoying my time with this game. The challenge has been rewarding, with my strategies and plans of attack coming to fruition, and when they haven't, I know exactly what I did wrong and can correct them for the next time around. Suck it, Spectre, you coward. We reached the halfway point of the tournament, and my Twisted Metal 2 mood has still not soured. And again, I would say I've actually enjoyed this. So now Amazonia greets us, its ring of safety flanked all around by lava-filled hell world. This was also a shocking turn of events for me. Typically, I would have my ass handed to me on several platters by this point, but it's actually been pretty painless. and outside of Mr. Slam getting handsy at the beginning, I pretty much sprinted right on past the opening stage and into the boss fight with Minion. Now, I also refused to fight like a normal person and hid inside of a temple like a little sissy baby, but who said that chess matches have to be respectable? Sometimes if you just wait long enough, your opponent will just give up and walk away. Patience is a virtue. It's the same result whether you dominate with skill or emerge the victor by being a cheap camper. But now this is where the game starts to give you a mountain of bullshit to gobble on. The AI removes any notion that they want you to have fun. This is where the game becomes an unforgiving disaster. Any semblance of entertainment is a distant memory now. Welcome to New York. What I mean to say is this game is an outstanding concoction that humanity is undeserving of. The fact that my fleshy mortal meat fails to understand it is not an indictment of the game. It's evidence of my own shortcomings as a person. This game is the measuring stick by which all must be held against, so that we may know where we stand in the grand scheme of things. No credential was more valuable than being in the rarefied air of Twisted Metal 2's acceptance. In fact, Tinder profiles should begin and end with what characters you've beaten this game with. Forget how tall you are or what cringe one-liners you can throw out. All that matters is having a picture of you playing as Grasshopper and beating the game. It's scientifically proven to be the most sexually magnetic act a person can perform. It's like an atomic blast that forces everyone in a 5-mile radius to spontaneously orgasm. Can you even trust a world leader who hasn't beaten Twisted Metal 2 deathless on hard mode? I don't think I can. Anyway, with a relatively smooth run of Amazonia under my belt, I tried my luck at taking on New York with just one life, and within 30 seconds, I plummeted off the skyscraper and into the waiting arms of the main menu, where I could input the level password and give this level a real attempt. Mr. Grimm presented himself as a willing participant for my specific brand of freeze-ramming ass-kicking, but he was bailed out by Twister, who with their combined Rico and Tornado special, turned me into a helpless pinball. Later on, I was knocked around by some mysterious force that once again sent me flying off into the void. The enemies seem much more keen on protecting each other and using teamwork to make this a miserable experience all the way around. I did my best to flee the roving squadrons of AI, while also trying not to cast myself into the dark beyond. Somehow the enemies had mercy and just offed themselves on multiple occasions. The counter at the top just kept ticking down as I aimlessly wandered around the arena. I found myself on the winning end of a jousting match with Axel, and then ran full speed to the swimming pool to refill on health, and utilize my brand new patented camping technology to finish off Outlaw, where I can then limp over to Antarctica and continue getting my ass kicked. This is where the game began to wear on me. Whether it was simple fatigue or that the enemies truly are an insurmountable obstacle after a certain point, it seemed like I just couldn't get back into rhythm with the gameplay. Nothing I did was with strategy. It felt like I was treading water, or ice in this case, I guess. The field of opponents turned this into less of a chess match where I can think my way out of iffy spots, and into more of a chaotic mess of bullshit. I was swarmed constantly by everyone who relentlessly spewed their special weapons and freeze missiles. Getting my bearings about me was a monumental task because as soon as I had a grip on the situation would be turned inside out and upside down. One of the most frustrating things about this game is the way that certain weapons will knock you around. Ricochet balls have a concussive force that have me convinced they stuffed a whole ass Dragonborn inside. Sweet Tooth's special is an ever-present fixture on every map he appears in and will completely stop any momentum you have whenever it lands. It just feels like the controller is taken out of my hands so often while playing this game. Whether it's the constant freeze missiles, the various weapons that push or pull or grab you, or the ungodly physics making any time spent not on four wheels an absolute nightmare. The opening levels are an easy dip in the shallow end, lulling you into this false sense of security that this game might actually be fun. But then as soon as you cross the halfway point, it throws you into the deep end with cinder blocks tied to your ball sack. It makes me think that to treat this game as royalty, as the greatest of all time, is borderline delusion. This game is so user unfriendly that at a certain point it's totally indistinguishable from making love to a cactus, in that there's nothing physically stopping you, but was it worth all that pain just to say that you love something that so desperately doesn't want you to? But then I actually had a revelation that makes me completely change my outlook on this game. I gave up on from my tournament aspirations and just moseyed on over to challenge mode, intending just to get some B-roll of other vehicles and other levels, and discovered that the challenge mode is where this game is truly at its best. You can control how many enemies you face and on which map you face them. It gives me complete control over the situations that I fight in, and I spent way longer than I thought I would just taking on different types of opponents on different maps. Mr. Grimm speeding down the streets of Hong Kong, slapping around the competition? Hell yeah. Thumper melting the Antarctic ice beneath us, and every time I restarted, the map wouldn't reset and it just kept getting smaller and smaller until it was just this little slab. That's the shit. Twister tearing up the lava swamp with pure speed and spinning attacks. I mean, I still got utterly dominated, but it was so much more fun to just mess around without the grueling march of the tournament mode. I don't know what's really the difference, but challenge mode was a blast, experimenting with different vehicles and with the number of enemies that wasn't always overwhelming. I may have finally learned to like Twisted Metal 2, or at least the first 4 levels in challenge mode. But hey, it's a start. And I would just like to cap this video off by saying that I don't intend on being inflammatory or the kind of creator who's just trying to piss people off for attention. I really don't enjoy negative interactions with anyone, but especially not the people who've taken their time to watch my content. I couldn't be more grateful than I am for the folks who support me and the videos that I make here on this channel. But sometimes I know those videos are going to be things that you disagree with. Just know that my opinions are genuine and not designed in some lab just to make you angry. Twisted Metal 2 is an objectively great game, just not one that I've had the same experience with that many others have. I hope that's okay. But please be kind to each other, take care of yourselves, and do what makes you happy, kind, and caring. Because this world can be big and scary and stupid, but that slightest bit of decency can make that world feel a whole lot less awful. I'll catch you next time. Have a nice day.